Well, hello everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Hello Ryan. Hello Bentley. Thank you, Bentley, for coming. Thank you, Ryan.
Howdy.
Hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. And let's see who is in here. Hey Matt. Hello. S. Ian. Hosiwi. Patty. Hello. Mississippi Hippie. Xanadu. Discus Talk. Hello. Bunny Viper. Let's see. Jennifer Weaver. Danny, Only Oscars. Rachel. Let's see. Danny. Skipper. Fish Streams. Mary Beth. Travis. Dennis. Who else? Ian. MNC Aquatics. Staff. Ray Aquatics. Hope you all are doing well. Hello, Scott. Hope you are well. Cat Hair Crafts. Hello. Let's see. Hello, Jeremy. Peplin. Michael A. Hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you both for coming. Hope you guys had a wonderful holiday so far. Hello, 3G. No, I'm in the car and it is dark right now. Sorry about that. A lot of traffic, so. Bentley, do you mind telling us some background?
In what regards?
The background of the world.
Well, let's go science.
And about yourself.
About myself.
Hello, Candace. Deal.
Let's see. Well, okay. I work in software. I break things for a living. And I keep fish.
But they're not like physical things, or do you consider them physical things that you break for a living?
Well, so I do work on a series of prototype devices that are using mixed reality technology or augmented reality, depends on which term you prefer. So I have a physical device that I am, in theory, breaking.
Okay.
Mostly what we're doing is we're reinforcing the quality of software. So we go through a series of tests and checks and work that verifies that everything is functioning as we expect, as opposed to what is the real world scenario, which is that something's kind of always broken and you've always got to fix it, because technology that's on the cutting edge like that is very difficult, right? It's complex. It's extremely difficult to get it perfect. And our customer in the end wants perfect. So it's a lot of work for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. No.
I love some of the chat. It's like, oh, don't be don't be shy, or like one person saying, don't tell Kevin where you work. Kind of the nice part about where I work is that like
hello, Nola.
The security is so insane that it takes forever to become a person to get into that building in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, it's the project I work for is for the Army, so we have to go by really, really, really strict
Okay.
regulations and security requirements. So
okay.
like I've told people this before, but basically I walk through 4 different security doors before I can get to my desk. And 2 of them have physical security guards at them 24 hours a day, even when there's no one else in the building but the security. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah. And so it's not on a military facility, but it's controlled that way because of the nature of what you're working on.
Well, some of the work we do is actually on military bases. But my particular work personally, the team that I run and the work that I do for the product, we're inside a corporate building under a very large software company in Redmond, Washington. I work for Microsoft. It's like, but it's...
And then some of your associates are down at like Lewis McChord sometimes, or
so we have teams that regularly are down at Lewis McChord working directly with soldiers, giving us feedback, doing stuff like that. There's several other bases across the U.S. that we do work with. This is it's a really big project. So those are the bases I can't mention, but Lewis McChord is the one I can.
Gotcha.
That's the fun part about, I guess, my job in the grand scheme of things outside of fish. This is where we can talk about the non-fish stuff. Is I get home and I'll see my lady and she'll be like, "How was work today?" Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's like the extent of our conversations, just because of the level of secrecy basically that's required in our work. Like there's certain things I can say, but there's not much I can say.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot like when I asked my son how school was, but I don't think he's working on any top secret augmented reality apps for the.
What are you talking about, man? It's kids and video games are the next like drone pilots and stuff.
Yep, indeed. Well, he certainly loves video games. Where are you going, Kevin?
And you were saying backstage. We're driving right now. We're gonna go.
Is it top secret?
Family.
Okay.
We're gonna go see some family, and didn't realize it would take this long to get there. There was some traffic, so.
Some of the comments in chat are fantastic. I'm just gonna put that out there.
How long have you been keeping fish for, Bentley?
Most recently, so I got back into the hobby in 2016. So over 5 years now. But before that, like I'd had fish in my house with my family since I was a baby. And I stopped keeping fish in college because I had the last tank I had that me and my cousin were keeping when we lived together. Busted a seal, and we were too broke because we were both in college, and neither of us made very much money at our minimum wage jobs to afford a new fish tank, at least for the fish we were keeping, because we had some bigger South American cichlids, and so they had Jack Dempsey, Red Devil, stuff like that. Nothing huge. We're not talking like Dovi, and just we couldn't afford a big tank, so we had to like
Dovi
find a place for our fish that we did have, and that was kind of the end of my aquatic journey until I finally like owned my own home and was like, I kind of miss having fish after becoming unemployed, losing my last job, and sitting there going like, I kind of miss the stress relief of just sitting and watching things swim in water. So, but some YouTube videos later, and I was back in the mindset. I can even really remember. I called my girlfriend, and this was before she moved in with me. I was like, "Hey, do you like fish?" She was like, "I thought you didn't eat fish." I was like, "No, I mean like pet fish, like angelfish and bettas and stuff like that." She's like, "Oh yeah, I think fish are neat." I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna get a fish tank again." And she's like, okay, and that was like originally this little flex behind me was the first tank I got. Well, little did I know, really. I thought I was only going to have 2 tanks. I didn't think I was going to go quite as hog wild. And I should know better because like any hobby I get into, I always go like eyeballs deep at a minimum. I just like jump all the way into the quicksand and just like struggle as much as possible so I bury as deep as possible. uh, and, yeah, but
So you should have seen this coming, but you didn't.
I should have, but I'm an idiot and didn't. I thought I was going to be good. I was like, I'll get one big tank and I'll have one little tank in my bedroom and that'll be great. And then I had one big tank and I was like, but now I need another big tank.
Right?
And now I need another tank.
MTS took over.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's 20 tanks later, you're like, I can't fit any more tanks, but I need more tanks.
So how many are you at now? What's the cap so far?
So I've actually pared down a lot of my tanks. So what I've done is like I'll take down 2 10-gallons or 3 10-gallons depending on the space, and I'll put up a 40-gallon breeder instead. So number of tanks has gone down, gallonage has increased. So now it's I have cue the Jeopardy music. I gotta count. I have 17. And that's because in this last week I used to have 20. I took 3 more down in this last week because I wasn't using them for what they were meant for.
Hello,
and Patty. I just don't have the time to do what I wanted to do with them. So there's no sense in just having them run basically empty. Because they were 3 10-gallons on top of a rack. They were meant for raising some baby fry, but like my work is kicked up enough to where I just don't have the time to raise rainbow fish fry.
Oh yeah.
Now see, comments like that, Garden of Eden, it's like you can fit more tanks. There's plenty of room behind you. Oh yes, there's physical space.
Yes.
But what you're not accounting for is how much more power I can put on the circuit breakers of my house before they say no. And the answer to that is literal 0 on every place of my house. I'm basically riding the thin red line between blowing a breaker at any moment and being just under the line of where it goes, we can keep this stable and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Because my house is wired in like the most psychotic way known to man because it was done in the 80s and who knows.
I was going to ask if it was an older house or not too crazy old.
But. My house is built in the late 80s, but like we've seen some of the wiring. So there's this weird example. The wall that this sits against over here, the plug that's on this wall is shared with the main bathroom and the downstairs bathroom. They're on their own breaker. But then every other part of the upstairs is on one breaker together.
Wow, really?
And then two of my main, so my main living room and what used to be called my display room, even though I'd kind of taken down some tanks in there, they're all on the same breaker. So like I was flirting the line with power in that thing constantly before I took one of my other tanks down. Yeah. And then my warm room and a majority of my kitchen, except for the major appliances, are all on another breaker. So everything in my kitchen and where the most of my tanks are all sharing the same breaker.
Wow.
So it's just like,
oh wow.
So they're just kind of doing this at all times, right? Because it's just like, I literally can't add any more power anywhere, or it's game over.
It's a little risky making toast.
I know. Hello, Ray. We don't have toast here.
Hello, Ray.
There you go.
The toaster's there for display only. It's not actually functional.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's stay cleaner that way, anyways.
For Christmas yesterday, we went over to my grandmother's house, and they wanted to bake some bread. We wanted to have one last Christmas there, since she passed away, and we're gonna sell it. So we got there, and my uncle's like, we do you know how to turn on the oven? And we're like, it shouldn't be that hard. And so we kept on trying, and it wouldn't start. And then finally we're like, okay, let's go outside and see if we can reset the circuit breaker. And we finally reset it, and we're like, okay, yeah, that fixed it. Like 2 hours later. We're like, yep, that fixed it. Weird. Power was still on, but I guess it didn't work properly.
Speaking of power issues and stuff, how's the weather up there, Bentley? I heard that it looked like it got pretty snowy.
Yeah. My my mother was in visiting, so she normally lives in Wenatchee, Washington, which is on like 3.5 hours away drive wise, and it's the other side of the state. She couldn't go home because of the amount of snow. And normally we don't get snow here, which means that when we do get snow, there's no infrastructure to handle it, and people have no clue what they're doing. But yeah, so needless to say, I was not expecting snow. I was just expecting cold weather because at first the forecasts were like, oh, chances of snow are low. So when I did some grocery shopping, I didn't plan for being snowed into my house potentially. And now I'm snowed into my house.
Yeah.
And
Down here in the Portland area, they were like spreading terror. It's going to be crazy snowy. They declared like a state of emergency. I'm like, nothing's even happened yet, And then
it's weird for us.
Here we got literally nothing.
All they had for us was like cold temperature warnings. But normally, if they know snow's coming, like they act like it's the apocalypse when half an inch of snow is going to fall. And I went out and I think it was like 7:30 in the morning or whatever this morning, and we had like an inch of snow. And just walking my dog, she's never seen snow before, so that was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And she's like a little TSA dog. She just smells everything under the sun. She's just got her nose buried in everything. So she's just running around with her nose buried in the snow. And it's like, I'm sure if my phone would let me, because my phone was being finicky, we could have made some funny videos about my dog and sniffing white powdery substances. But and I think like an hour later, we're going out to we're gonna take my boy dog, my corgi, out to let him experience snow because he's never experienced snow, and he's much shorter than the girl dog.
Yeah,
and now there's
corgi's got those short little legs.
Now there's 5.5 inches outside, and it's still coming. It's like, okay, this accelerated rapidly. What the? Wow. But he had a blast, and once again, my phone was like, no. Every time you try to start the video on your phone to record, I'm just going to reboot myself. Nice try, though.
I hate when that happens.
So if anybody's wondered why like I basically post nothing on Instagram right now, it's because my phone is finicky.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Yeah, we were supposed to have this kind of snowpocalypse, and they're still saying it's maybe coming, but it sounds like less so now. But I'm in Vancouver, and then we got like a dusting. I saw Kenny's. I didn't see his stream, unfortunately, but I saw his thumbnail, and it looked like they got a little snow down there, a little further, and stuff like that. But
yeah, I think we're taking the brunt of it for you guys.
Yep. Appreciate that. Thank you, Bentley.
Yeah, I'm sure Bentley's thrilled about that. I'm sure he's thrilled about that, Ryan.
Well, like one thing for me is to go anywhere. I live on the top of a hill, basically. I live in what's called East Hill, and to go anywhere, I have to go downhill.
Yeah.
With people that don't know how to drive in snow, because we live in the Seattle area, and we know what rain is, sort of. But other than that, well, there's a lot of people who move here. They've like every time it rains, they act like they've never seen rain before. It rains 9 months of the year, so I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm born and raised up here, so for me, it's like, oh, it's wet outside. That's called normal. Yeah. It's not wet outside. Something's wrong with the weather. I don't understand.
I'm afraid some people are just slow learners too. Maybe that they're not new. I mean, you'd like to think they're new, right? I think that's generous of you.
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt there.
Okay.
Right?
What,
we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
What I find really,
in some respect.
Yeah. What I find really wild is like I've got a buddy who's over in Kentucky, right? And he was sending me pictures Christmas Day of him and his family outside eating their Christmas dinner and looking at the thermometer where it says it's 72 degrees outside in Kentucky.
Wow.
Where like normally they've got feet of snow at this point.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
What the heck is going on in this world right now?
I have no idea.
Hard to say. Who knows what's next?
Well, if it keeps up like this, it's time to run away. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Bentley, besides rainbows, what other fish do you keep? I know you have guppies, a lot of guppies.
Yeah, I have like one army of guppies in one tank. So I keep one very specific line of guppies, which is the blue Hawaiian Moscow.
Oh, yep.
And that's my babies. And then beyond that, like I keep some really random stuff. So I have almost every tank has autosynclus. That's like casually a fish that I love a lot and I don't talk about very often, just because everybody knows what an autosynclus is, and I just love them. I have just common autos everywhere. Every tank has common autos.
They are cute.
Not everybody
cute.
knows how to
pretty
keep
cute.
an autosynclus alive, though. So I mean, that's something you could help with. You know,
all you have to do is just have like a really healthy biofilm culture, and just a good planet tank is kind of all you need for that.
Yeah,
and realistically, overfeed your tanks, because I'm a sucker for that, because my fish beg for food all the time because they're rainbow fish and they have bottomless stomachs, little piggy bastards.
Mm-hmm.
But and beyond that, like I have some plecos, so I keep only 2 species of plecos right now. I have short fin super red bristlenose, and then I have the Wabenmuster pleco, which is a kind of rare, but that's starting to become slightly more common, and ancestral species. So it's a bushy nose as well, that was caught once in the wild by a group of Germans, and then an export ban happened. So basically, they only come out of Germany, which is why they have the name Wabenmuster, which is German for honeycomb. But a bunch of people out this way are starting to get them. They're just a super cool bristle nose. They don't get super big. The females don't have bristles at all, so it makes it really easy to sex them as adults. And then when they have this cool like yellow body with black patterns that looks like honeycombs, and the males, as they get older, you don't see that as much, except when they want to attract females for breeding into their caves. They'll turn like as yellow as this can of food here. So like that color there, they'll turn that color.
Wow.
And then their honeycomb pattern's like really, really, really well expressed. And the females keep that the whole time. And theirs is more of like I'd say kind of like a mustardy, slightly green tinged yellow. So it's a more drab yellow, but it's definitely yellow.
Sure.
And there's super cool fish. And then beyond that, I have one tank of Leopoldi Angels that I love. I love the Leopoldi Angel because they're basically the small version of what Ryan has behind him, those beautiful, beautiful Altums. And there's some small difference in their pattern, but realistically, like when you see a full-grown Altum and their color, where they have that little bit of kind of almost olive tinge to their silver, those big prevalent black bars, and the red in the finnage, the Leopoldis have the same, except they don't get anywhere near as big, so you can keep them in something like a 40 breeder, and they're just fine. They stay smaller than a lot of the other angels. They still get some good chunky size to them, though. Don't discredit them. They're still some thick boys.
Oh yeah, yeah, they get decent size. Yeah, I didn't recognize that Wabenmuster name, but then when you translated it there for me, because my Deutsch isn't so gut.
I like sounding fancy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you gotta sound fancy. So at least sometimes, keep that balance there. But yeah, like Ian and I had got some L089s, and they're like the false. They're kind of known as like the false honeycomb plecos, because apparently when they're young, they get passed off as such from time to time, and so that's when I kind of first heard about those honeycomb plecos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I got mine from a like super reputable breeder that I know, and I think if I remember right, he got his direct from Germany. So
yeah,
it's pretty good line of fish. They're super cool. And just like honestly watching when you see the males color up, it's super fun because you cannot miss them in a tank. And because they're a bristle nose, they're not that shy. So you'll see them out and about. They're a little shyer than like a super red. Like super reds just don't care, right? They're everywhere. They don't care who sees them. They have no fear. Where like these are gonna hide a little bit, but you'll see them come out, and it's when the males are putting on a show, then they don't care about anything, and they're out and they're just so vibrant. It's incredible.
Awesome.
How many M&C Aquatics was asking how many different types of rainbows do you have?
Yeah, I was curious about the rainbows. You kind of you skipped over those and other than rainbows and stuff, but yeah, I love me some rainbows. And
Well, that's the thing. Like I'm known as one of the rainbow guys. So the assumption is, of course, you're going to hear about rainbows with Bentley. I get like excited when people ask, like, all right, beyond the rainbows,
good.
what else do you got?
Yep.
Oh, well, okay. One other fish I want to highlight before I talk rainbows, and then I'll start counting because I'm going to have to count.
Wow.
A fish I've really come to appreciate. I only have a small group of them, but I absolutely love them. Is what is called the spotted Gara. So if you've ever had panda Gara, right? They're a suckerfish. They can be social, but also a little territorial. The spotted Gara, a little calmer, although some can be like real butts. Mine, thankfully, are pretty chill, but they only cap at like 3 inches. And they kind of look like a little fat SAE when they're swimming around, when they're full size and happy, which is what mine are. But they will eat blackbeard algae because I've watched them eat it off of some of my plants. But if they get flake food, they'll go for those more. They'll go for those a lot faster.
Yeah, that's a little.
But
it's a little easier to get off
a little bit, which is kind of nice. And they're a cool little fish. Okay, I'll count rainbows, and then I can also. There's another. I see another question in chat that I can answer very quickly. No, I currently do not have any shellies. I will have them again eventually, but I just don't have them right now. Okay. So I have 2 different types of Bozemanii. I have Chilatherina eleni wapoga. I have Melanitania picta. The Running River rainbow.
Nice.
Etnansis. Calibiru. Parva. Ewer. Kelly Moisey, Centaniensis, Frederici, Blaharii, Turquoise, Herbert Axelrodi, aka the yellow rainbow fish, Rubrostriata. I'm missing somebody. Hold on. Like I literally mentally picturing all my tanks and going through what fish is where. Oh, in this tank behind me, I have one lone Melanda Wallace Road. So there's that. And there is something else I'm forgetting in my big tank downstairs, in my retirement tank, because it's they're older and.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. There's some. I think I still have one of my red rainbows, the Glossolepis incisus, if I remember correct.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so
can you go back to the
almost 20 species of rainbows. Getting close.
That's impressive, man. The 2 different types of Bozemanii.
Yeah, so I have
kind of explain that a little bit.
Right. So I have some Atinjo Bozemanii, which they were Bob Steenfots that I got, and he got them from Gary Lang. They're a little older, and I'll probably get younger ones to breed now that it's basically right as I got them. My work schedule went to hell, and I couldn't breed them like I had intended to do so. I just younger breeders they tend to be more active, if you will. Where some of the older fish, some will breed, but they're more intermittent. They're not as active about doing so. So there's that. Plus, I really like the other one of the other versions you get now, the Aves Creek. They stay a little smaller. Dan's Fish carries them. They're fantastic. They're bred by a couple different people in the U.S. They're fantastic. But then the other ones I have are Ayamaru. So that's the biggest of the lakes. And usually those rainbow fish are a little more yellow, but these particular ones were actual wild caught, so they're super dark. They look like Atinjos, even though they're Ayamarus.
Okay.
And I have a bunch of females there, but that's just like, he's kind of the tank boss in the retirement tank. And that fish actually used to be Jimmy's. Those were before Jimmy moved back to Ohio and then came back here. those those particular Bozemanite were Jimmy's in his tank.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they just got to go live in my retirement tank.
Yeah, so I've probably we've probably seen both of those, you know. I mean, or at least the other one came from Bob and stuff. Yeah, I've got some Bozemanite, and they're just, you know, they're juveniles, and they're just starting to color up to where you can see who's male and who's not and stuff. You know, or it's at least one or two that are male. That maybe I should keep it to that.
That's one of my favorite times with rainbows is when you start seeing their color come in, because it's such like rainbows have such a wonderful transition. They take forever, so it's such a patience game. But like when you first get them, they're like little. When you're, at least when you hatch them, they're like a pencil streak in the water. They don't even look like a fish, right? Yeah. And then you finally get them at like a month, and now they're starting to get that the very fringes of what looks like a rainbow fish body when they're really young. And that's kind of like a fun phase if you breed enough rainbow fish. It's like, okay, they're starting to look like rainbows now. And then you go like 6 months down the line, 9 months, you start getting color in. And then it's this next like magical transition, right? Because you had this 2-inch or 1.5 inch silver minnow, and all of a sudden all this vibrant color is coming in. It's kind of like you're just sitting there going like, soon. Oh, so soon now. Finally, I've made it to this point. I'm gonna get the color. And it's just like it's such a magical little thing, right? Where you just watch this occur over a long period of time. Like most people are like, oh yeah, I breed rams, and in 3 months they're this amazing fish. It's like, that's nice. Or angelfish, and you're like, cool. Oh yeah, I breed rainbow fish, so I'm lucky if in a year they're at 3 inches and have color.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people, like, you never breed rainbow fish for profit, because it takes so long, unless you're like really, really good at what you're doing, that it's nothing. Because like the dollar angelfish sounds like it's not worth it, but that dollar angelfish is only in your possession for like 2 months, and then it's worth $1. Where the rainbow fish is in your possession for a year, and now it's worth $10 if you're selling it at a store, maybe less. Whereas, you know, if you're selling individually, maybe it's a little better if you do like aquabit and stuff. But if you're some like dunce like me, you're like, I don't know how to ship. I can't ship. I work too much.
Yep. And then like anybody that's going to be, not only do they need to be really good at what they're doing to raise them quickly, but they're going to have to dedicate a ton of time, you know, to power feeding them and
that's the other thing. Like rainbows grow faster in bigger tanks.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to raise them in 10s or 20s, it takes forever. But if you put your babies in 40-gallon breeders, they raise faster. But who's got the space for efficiently and mass raising things in 40-gallon breeders? Yeah. Right? So it's like it's such a gambit of basically like, no, trust me, you don't raise these for profit. You do this because you love this fish. And then like you're hoping just to recover your costs in the grand scheme of things.
Indeed. There's nothing funner though, I think, than feeding rainbow fish, man. The way they attack the food and
I've almost stopped feeding them in the morning before I go to work, because they splash me so often.
Yep.
And there's nothing in my mind slightly more frustrating than you're like, okay, I'm clean, I got nice good clothes, I'm ready to go to work, I work in a professional setting, get my like, you know, part white plaid shirt splashed with a bunch of water and fish food. It's like,
yep.
Why did I do that again?
Thanks, guys.
That was not a smart idea.
But
yeah, those rainbows that are coloring up, they're just starting to get towards that splashing stage now too. They're finally getting big enough for that. So yeah, that's another exciting.
And like for anybody in chat who's wondering, like, okay, how much can they really splash on you with adult rainbows? I have had them throw water easily 30 feet across the room.
What?
Like corner to corner, I have had them flip a big rainbow. Now this is a full adult goldie-eyed Dakai, so he's 5.5 inches and looks like a small dinner plate floating around in my tank when he was alive in my retirement tank. And he's literally from one corner of my 125 all the way to my front door, which is about 25 to 30 feet.
Wow, that's impressive.
Just
that is pretty impressive.
Because literally I was sitting there, and my roommate at the time, a buddy of mine who lived with me for a bit. It's like he was at the door going outside to have a cigarette because he smoked. And I literally put his hand on the door and just saw the splash of water hit the door. And he goes, "Did you throw water at me?" Like, "No, I just put food in the fish tank." And I turned around and there's just water all over me. Because he hit the water so hard he almost jumped out of the tank. It's like, yeah, that came all the way over here. Like, okay, that's a new record inside the house. I thought like 9 to 10 feet was impressive. That guy's the record holder probably for eternity, because I don't know that I'm going to have too many super big bows like him ever again.
Yeah, sure, Bentley. That's what you tell everybody. You probably were the one splashing her.
I know. No. I played.
You hide the super soaker real quick. Oh, it's a fish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fish.
Stop blaming that fish, Bentley.
So, never underestimate a rainbow.
Yeah. I mean, a big full-size, full-grown rainbow like that's a powerful fish, man. Those things can dart across a 6-foot tank in like no time, you know.
Yeah, you got some other people in chat who are like, "Yeah, my boatsman throws a lot of water."
So then, what plants now? What is your favorite plant and why?
Favorite plant and why? My cheater answer is usually crypts, and part of it is just because crypts as a whole, and if you're not going to ask me to go like a very specific species, crypts as a whole have such a wide variety. So you get a lot of colors, you get some small differences in their leaf texture. You can get some actually big differences in leaf texture if you really go really deep down the rabbit hole. But crypts are just super cool. And when you can get crypts happy, they grow way faster than most people think, in the sense of how fast they propagate. Because if you can get them in the right environment, certain crypts that you think would be like, "Oh, I'm just going to get one nice looking bush of this," will carpet a tank.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get so happy they just go hug wild. And I've done that with several different species at this point, where it's just like you keep them in conditions that most people think would be terrible for them, and then all of a sudden they're everywhere. And yeah, it's a great example right behind Ryan. Right, you get them happy, and they just they kick out all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working in my guppy mansion for a bit this week because I'm trying to kind of redo parts of it. And I used to have this crypt. When I first got it, I only had 5 of them, and they were about yay tall. It was called Crypt Sri Lanka. Now, this particular crypt actually grows fairly tall. So now I have this like huge bush of crypts that have taken up and overpowered a sword that was in the tank. Their root structure and their propagation are so strong that the sword lost the game and gave up. And these things, it's I was showing my lady like how much plant life I had ripped out of this tank just pulling Java fir now, because I had so much Java fir into this thing. And she's looking at it, she's like, "This part here is really beautiful." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's all one crypt species." She's like, "Oh, did they come in that big?" I'm like, no, they were like this tall when I first got them. And it took her a while. She had to remember, like 3 years ago when I first got them and planted them. It's like, oh yeah. Wasn't there something big like right in the middle? Like, yeah, that's the sword that used to be there. It's gone now. They took over. Nice. Like, that's part of the thing that for me and my tanks, like I let plants do their own thing. I just I cultivate them a little bit, but I'm not trying to aquascape where I'm forcing some artistic impression on nature. I'm letting nature do its thing. And it's part of the fun for me is over time seeing what plants flourish when, and what plants can come back from seemingly being completely gone in a tank and return. And that's really fun for me.
Yep.
So crypts kind of are the winner because they can weather so much stuff just as a family of pets collectively. Yeah. They can do a ton. But I think we lost Ryan. Or not Ryan, but Kevin.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Got into the dark zone. Oh, he's coming back.
Coming back. He's back.
Sorry, it crapped out on me for a second.
Welcome back, sir. Your
when
lights
you
are better.
when you have a big carpeted crypts like that, one of my favorite things is like, as much as I love it, when I go to decide to move things around and I pull up that carpet, like how many runners there are and how many babies you created, and
Yeah.
like I don't know, I'm terrible about sharing crypts. You know, I kind of like to hoard them all and keep them all to myself. But yeah, then you like, oh, I actually do have a lot more than I thought. You know, and then you can
Oh, dude,
spread
you're a
things
man
out
after my own
elsewhere.
heart. Like I
Yeah.
don't. When I was doing plants for profit, I'd have people come over to my house. They'd be like, "Oh, what about this plant here?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't sell my crypts."
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "But I thought you said like pretty much everything's for sale." It's like, notice that pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't sell my crypts. Like,
Keyword.
but isn't this like half your tank? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's like 3 years of work right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Kevin's having
With
connection
any
problems.
luck, if they keep going and you keep buying stuff, then maybe it'll be the whole tank.
Yeah. Then eventually I won't have any other plants, and then it will be the whole
Right.
tank, and then maybe I'll
Yep.
sell some. But like I've given crypts to some of my friends and stuff, especially some of my rarer neat stuff. Like I like to, when I get them happy and I have enough of them, I like spreading them around to see that other people can get a hold of them.
Yeah. Well, you brought some down to Fishtoberfest and stuff too.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
It's just like all I did was bring rare crypts, and
Yep.
there's like a bald spot in this carpet of crypts in my Running River tank, which my fish room tour that I'm working on right now, which will be, and it'll come out sometime in January, probably mid to late January, just because the amount of time it's going to take me to edit it between stuff. I'll talk about that for a moment, about the bald spot I created in this tank and how long I expect it to take before it starts growing back in. Because I've now pissed the crypt army off.
Yep. Indeed.
Okay, until we get Kevin back at fully operational, I'll try to take over some chat.
There we go.
All right. So from S,
Yes, I am right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I got one of Bentley's Crypt Nuri Rosen Maiden. I really like that one. That plant
It's a really
so
good plant.
cool.
It's a really good plant. Yeah. Once it's happy, man, you can get that thing to carpet and it looks incredible.
Yeah. I have exactly one of those, and it's right. Well, you can't see it because my name is right about there.
Nice.
Yeah, I just recently got it. It's fairly small.
They take a while to settle in. But when they settle in, if they're in the right conditions, they all of a sudden out of nowhere, you'll be like, I have 5 of those now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then a month later, you'll be like, how did I get this many? Oh my God. I don't know what I'm doing, but I got to keep doing it.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad I put it in that tank because, yeah, crypts do real well in that tank. The one of my favorite fish is clown loaches. Of course, I'm also a plant nerd, and those two things don't go together very well at all. But they kind of tolerate crypts, but at the same time, they beat up on them all the time. So I have a bunch of kind of sad looking crypts in my 125 because that's kind of what I can keep in there. But yeah, they're constantly beat up upon. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. And similarly, like I'll answer this. So this question that was from S is, what is Bentley's favorite rainbow fish species behavior? Certain plants, especially smaller carpeting plants, rainbows love to think responding mops. And crypts are kind of durable enough to handle that. But like I tried doing glossostigma carpets for a while in my big tank when I was first using it as my primary rainbow display tank as opposed to my retirement tank. And they just ripped it up like crazy. Yeah. Because their courting behavior, right? The way that they court and spar, and that's my favorite behavior to watch. Like when you see what I like to call the headlight on, right? And you would see all these colors come out of them in this behavior, and they do that little shimmy shake twitch dance, and the boys will sit and they'll do this like broadside thing where they almost look like battleships floating. They kind of just flare their fins and twitch a little bit. They're all fighting to get the attention of one poor girl who's just like, I really just want to be left alone and have my breakfast. Leave me the heck alone, you dumb butts. You know, that's part of the parts of behavior in rainbows that I love the most. Is like, especially when you see two well colored up males they full flare their fins, and they start like inverting, doing this, like two old battleships. It's such a fun thing to watch because you watch them like twist and turn all these weird ways, but they keep perfectly parallel with each other.
Yeah.
And they hold their fins all the way out. They're trying to look as big and bad and beautiful as possible.
Uh-huh.
And in the end, it's just like, all right, man, you ready? We're going to do the thing. We're going to impress the girls. Are you ready? Are you ready? Because they're not fighting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just such a funny thing to watch. It's like,
it's the wingman.
Look how beautiful I am. Like, oh God. And then you realize that like rainbows are just, as dumb as a box of rocks, where they'll spar with each other when they're actually sparring, and they'll spin in circles. They pay no attention to anything around them. So they'll bonk into wood, rock, the glass, anything.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So like when I was getting back to the hobby and I first started keeping rainbows in any amount, I was trying to make my tanks way cooler. And I'd have pieces of driftwood and stuff and try to do rock displays and things like that. And I'd just watch them like scuff up their nose all the time. You just see this white mark on the mouth and nose. And it's like, oh yeah, it's because these two dummies just kept hitting the rock and stuff. And you can see what is my retirement tank now. Over time, some of the more intricate like wood pieces that had branchy stems have just been removed for the biggest, flattest piece of whatever possible, so that they don't kill themselves. Because I know how dumb they are.
I didn't know if you're going to say they broke them off, man. I'm like, wow.
No, they ran into them because they're that dumb, but. They're not that strong, but like I used to have this beautiful piece of spiderwood in the tank that I made into a tree, and it's gone because I was like, I'm paranoid that they're going to stab themselves on this thing because they are that dumb.
Yeah, definitely one track mind. Whatever they're thinking about at that point,
Gavin, welcome back, buddy.
Do you mind? I can pull this up. Wi-Fi password.
Kevin, I don't right now, Kevin. We're trying to get into our room. For a second. Can you sit down?
Kevin's reached his destination, it seems.
That's good. Not moving should help.
Yeah.
Hopefully not being on a roaming network would make it a little easier. Let's see.
Did you get a little time off of work for Christmas time, or?
Yeah, I took some time off, and then all my plans got hurled out the window. But most of it was just trying to get some level of recharge. Because I'm a person who sleeps like 5 hours a night.
Wow.
Typically. Yeah. 6 is called a good night for me. I just don't. I don't get a lot of sleep. I'm one of those people where like I always wake up early. And I'm kind of usually up late. So it was an opportunity to, if I needed to in the middle of the day, I could just go take a nap.
Nice.
or just take some recharge. I spent a lot of time with my my lady and my brother-in-law. We just kind of relaxed. I played a healthy amount of Mario Party, which is like
a healthy amount.
Become one of my favorite games just because it's a fun bonding experience. Even when you're like cursing at people for screwing you over in the game, like it's still fun in the end the grand scheme of things, right? And I think that's the best part about like party games is it's just a fun social experience. You play for an hour and a half or so, and then you just kind of go, okay, yeah, let's go take a break. We'll do whatever we want to do, or we'll cook lunch or dinner or whatever it is, or watch some TV or whatever the heck it may be. And it was nice to not be running at like a 900 miles an hour with my hair on fire for a week. Up until I found out like my brother was in the hospital, and it was like, okay, now I am running at 900 miles an hour with my hair on fire and paranoid out of my mind.
Oh wow! Sorry to hear that. I hope he's okay.
He'll be okay. He will be okay. Just he's going to be hurting for a bit.
Gotcha.
He was dealing with a pretty bad infection. Thankfully, nothing too scary, but there were some risk of like potentially a blood clot in one of his lungs, and that's why all of us were really scared and had family members coming over the pass that would not have come over the pass right now. So yeah, but he's okay. Good news. Tests all came back negative thus far, so we're all right. Nothing scary on the scariest possible stuff. It's just like,
well, that's good.
He'll be healing from the infection that he had, and that's going to be a painful process because it was in his knee. So basically, like his mobility is kind of messed right now, and he's a really active guy, and like worked in construction for a while, so he'll be all right. He's just going to be hurting and paying for it for a little bit. It serves him right for not going to a doctor fast enough, I suppose.
Yep. Good
lesson to all of you: go to your doctor. Don't let your knee turn triple the size that it's supposed to be. That's bad for you.
Yeah. Good plan. It's amazing, like what people will spend on, fish tanks or their car or something. But then when it comes around to, this meat vehicle we have here, then like, oh, I don't know, going to the, I get it because it's expensive, but really it's the most important thing you have. You're not going to do, much else without it.
Without going down to the political end of arguments and complaints. It's part of the problem is like any medical stuff the paranoia thing is always like it's going to be scary expensive, and for a while like he didn't have insurance, so he's still got that in his head of like, even though he's got insurance right now, it's like, I don't know that I can afford this, because he's so used to the period of time where he didn't have insurance. He just had a wage, and he's a lot younger than I am too. So he's got his brain in the old one, in the old mentality, instead of the like, I have insurance now, I should just go get this looked at. But that happens. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I put everybody before myself all the time, and I've had my lady recently scream at me that you should not do that anymore. Please stop. So.
Well, like you said, he's a little younger, and everybody's got a lot of times people got to learn the hard way,
Yes, definitely. I'm just curious where Kevin's at.
Your opinion, Bentley, of I guess there's always the caveat that every plant has its own conditions, right? What it wants. But like,
sure,
there's a lot of like stuff out there that people put out as general rules as far as like red plants go and stuff like that.
Okay.
And, there's things that you hear that they need iron, or that they need lots of light, or that they need low nitrates. What do you think? And if you could speak in some sort of generality, what would be the most important thing to keeping a red plant red?
There is always exceptions to a rule. So in general, most of your easier red plants, a little supplementation of iron goes a long way, and you don't need to do a lot. More often than not, getting good red color involves highlight and CO2. But there are plenty of plants that are low tech that do not require CO2 whatsoever that will get beautifully red. Red tiger lotus, Nymphaea zanchari is a great example. You can get that stuff scarlet crimson red with just a little boosted iron in the water. It can be under medium light. It doesn't need highlight. You can grow, whether it's one little plant or an army of it, and you can have it as bright red as a Coke can.
Yeah.
And there's other plants that they'll be like, oh, well, to get full red out of that, and it's called a red plant. It's like, by the way, in order to do that right, you need to have high levels of CO2, ludicrous amounts of light, and.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I got it because it said it's red. It's like, well, yeah, it can be. So I think the biggest thing is what I like to do nowadays. I don't chase colors in plants. I chase leaf texture. So I look for different foliage appearances and textures, and I mix textures more than colors, because you can have a green plant and a green plant, and they're two different colors.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
You'll have something that's bright, vibrant green, and then you'll have stuff that's like darker green. You'll have stuff that's more of a drab olive green. You'll get things that, you have all these different colors. So in the end, it's all a matter of, and of course, for people who are colorblind, I'm sure that's a little more difficult, but in the end, like I just start chasing like textures and shapes.
Yeah.
And that's more interesting to me than necessarily the color. Now, granted, yeah, if I want a red plant in a tank, I've got a couple that I go to because they're the easiest to get bright red color out of.
Sure.
A lot of it tends to be your nymphaeas or your lilies or lotuses. They're the easiest to get red out of.
I would agree.
The Scarlet Temple, the common name, but for those of us who like to be fancy, Alternanthera reinekii, that's really easy to get red color out of. I love a lot of Ludwigias, so Ludwigia palustris.
I like AR.
That's a great one. Yeah, AR. Just AR is simple for everybody. I think everybody should just adopt AR as its name. But there's some simple
AR just made it. Sorry, but AR is just so much easier.
Yeah, well, some of us like to be a little fancy and show off we can do fake Latin. But
absolutely,
I think I've found more enjoyment going for mixing up leaf textures and caring less about like I need to have red or I need to have this in my tank, and more just like I can have a tank full of green, but you can look at the way the leaf shapes are and all this and easily tell, oh, that's a different plant and that's a different plant. And even like different buses or different anubiuses or different Java ferns or different crypts, just in the way the leaf shape is, the height, the way it grows. You could see it in black and white and you could tell this plant is different than that plant.
Yeah.
So if you can tell in black and white that plants are different by just the way they appear, then to me, that's like success nowadays. Because that's more interesting to me, is that I identify plants by their neat appearance as opposed to their color, because I want the fish for color. Like I'm a rainbow fish keeper. I get all the colors of the rainbow in my fish.
Thing. You can only really get red and green.
Oh, no.
You can only really get red and green. Those are the main two colors. You can get different shades, but the main two colors are red and green.
Sir, you get some golds and
you can get golds, you can get yellows, you can get browns, you can get purples, you can get pinks. I can get blues, I can get blacks, I can get a speckle pattern, I can get silver. It's all about, I can get white. That depends on how deep down the rabbit hole you really want to go. Right? I can get 3 different rotalas, and one will be orange, one will be yellow, and one will be blood red under the exact same conditions.
Yeah, good point.
You can get crazy stuff, but that's if you want to go like hyper deep down the rabbit hole. Now the simple part is, the common stuff is some reds and some and a lot of greens. But the thing is to get that, like, okay, here's my 3 rotalas that are 3 different colors, and here's my boost that has a blue sheen, my boost that has a black sheen, my boost that's silver, this white anubius. To get all of that, you have to be in usually crazy high light or crazy low light. That's the screwed part. It's different depending on which plant it is. And you typically need CO2.
Yeah.
But I can have a tank that has yellows, pinks, reds, greens, browns, olive tones at medium light with almost no CO2. So you've got variance. It becomes how deep down the rabbit hole you choose to teach yourself.
Totally.
And whether or not you want to invest in some of the harder to find, but not necessarily hard to keep plants that will give you those colorations. So like an example would be if you can find Boos Black Marble or Boos Silver Stein, when you get at an angle, they show pearly black color and silver, just like their names say. They show those colors. The best part, they'll do that under a Fluval Aqua Sky. They don't even do that under an expensive light. They do that under a light.
Yeah.
With almost no CO2. But it's all about, with those plants, it becomes the angle. They just need the right light and getting at the angle to where that sheen becomes most prevalent. And then the rest of the plants around them, don't care about the angle and all this nonsense. They just show what they show. So it's like plants are such a psychotic thing, especially when you start talking about the weird sheens that occur in like Booses, and Boos is its own like psychotic story. But there is a ton of room to get plants. And if you really want to go down the well, you can mix in fake plants with real plants and get some real wild colors going on. Because some of the newest fake plants almost look real. And if you mix them in with enough real stuff to hide the plastic stuff, you can do some crazy mixtures of things and create some neat effects. Assuming you're not a snob,
I'm sure somebody could do something really cool, but it sounds cringy to me, you know?
I'm a snob. Like, I want everything to be alive, right? I don't like artificial
me too.
stuff.
I used to be Natural Aquariums,
really
and that was why,
things.
basically. You know, not that I love nature so much, but really that I couldn't stand non-alive stuff, really, you know? I mean, I dig nature, don't get me wrong, but yeah, and I do got the Krusty Krab over there, you know. I got an ornament or two, you know.
The most common thing I've ever seen ornament wise is always the SpongeBob pineapple hut.
Yeah,
that is the atypical,
SpongeBob
and almost
stuffed
always
castle.
it's like, oh yeah, that's my kid's tank.
I kind of like the castle.
I used to love it's because I had the big broken pirate ship. I used to love that ornament, and I probably would love it again if I wasn't such a snob about like, well, my rainbows will probably murder themselves on this thing, so I better not do that.
Right, and then it's if you don't have the big pirate ship in there, there's more room for plants.
There's that too.
Very true. Although it kind of looks cool.
There's a gal down in Kevin's area named,
but I like having other stuff on there.
There's a gal down in Kevin's area there in the Bay Area for Sacramento named Pam Chin, and she is a well-known breeder that does very well with a lot of castles and using those for breeding.
Oh, interesting. I didn't. So she's spoken at my club. She's very, very interesting speaker. I had no clue that she used castles for breeding. That's kind of hilarious, honestly.
Yeah, she's spoken down in Portland a couple of times too, and
I kind of like that.
Sacramento's, I don't know if they I think they just share all of their stuff on YouTube. So anyone out there that,
I'll have to check. That's cool.
Yeah.
They did go online for a while. They did go online for a while.
Or are they not anymore though?
They were online, and they are doing a decent amount of stuff. No, they still are doing a lot of it online. I think they keep up because the speakers are coming, and to be respectful of the speakers, I believe they only keep their each of their videos up for a week, but they do have their videos online for like 1 week.
Okay.
Each meeting, I think, is the first Saturday of each month, and they have it up for 1 week.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I've gone to like 1 or 2 meetings there. I was a member. I think I need to rejoin again. But yeah. They do.
Support
they
your
are
local
doing
clubs,
it online,
folks.
and I think they were one of the first ones to do it, which is nice. Hey, Crown Tail.
Yeah, I think the one that I know that was doing it first, but that's just who I was paying attention to, was Maasai when the pandemic first hit. But I don't know. I don't know that they were the first. That's just the first one I know is like, we're going to do a meeting online. I was like, that's a good idea. I wonder if my club will do it. And then the very next month, our club was like, we will do the first one online. Like, oh, there it is. Considering we have tech people that like work inside the club, you would have thought it would have came faster, but
yeah. I mean,
nope.
Yeah, see, I got, I don't know if you see that in the tail.
GSAS. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a member up there as well. I've only been to one physical meeting and stuff, but yeah, I mean, just what is offered online there and stuff, it's worth being a member. I think you need to either go to one meeting or live in the state of Washington. So there's a caveat there.
Yeah, there is that kind of caveat. And we've had people down in the Portland area who have traveled up to go to one meeting so that they can then access all the resources online forever. And once you've been once, if you have a membership, they just let you renew. They don't care. Because like we've got former club members who live all over the United States now, and they're constantly still members and interact with the club through some of our digital stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And most of it's like they just watch the talks on replay. You know, it's like, oh, that speaker's coming. I want to see that. And it's just available to the club members all the time.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I will say, like, I know clubs are trying really hard to have a local presence, but I wish more clubs would open themselves up to just a remote digital presence. If somebody wants to pay your club membership and doesn't ever want to come to a meeting, but wants to see your online resources, let them.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like, let them. Let people learn from this stuff.
So the online resources are cool, but that is one of the things is they have a membership page where you log in and then you can get access to it. And I don't think they do, but I really wish that they had the videos up on there so that if members want to watch it later, they can, instead of just 1 week. But it is nice that at least it's there for like a week and I can go back and watch it.
And part of that just has to do with how you're
2-3 hours to
archiving
get there is
stuff,
a little bit too much, especially when it's till 7. Yeah. But unfortunately, I think part of it is for the speakers. That's one of the things that they go and do is they go to the clubs and speak. And so they want to be mindful to the clubs or to the speakers as well. So they only have it up for 1 week. To help with the speakers and to be mindful of the speakers, which I think is nice. But for people who are members, it would be kind of cool to have, okay, you can go here to watch them if you've actually been a member.
Yeah, for me.
So speaking of speakers, Bentley, you're gonna speak for Fishtoberfest next year, correct? I think that's the plan.
So my current, I hate to sound like this, but my current speaking engagements are
okay. There you go. Good. No, you should sound like that. Put them out there,
for
man.
the Portland Aquarium Society. So
what's wrong with that?
I'll be speaking at their club in March, and it'll basically be the same talk I did for mine, although a little augmented, because I've learned some lessons in my first time doing that talk, so I'll make some changes to it. And then, Fishtoberfest will be something completely new because it's a different allotment of time, right? It's not slotted for roughly an hour. It's slotted for roughly half an hour. So I'll probably do... I got to figure out what I want to do for that. I'm not sure what I want to do that's different and interesting. Because the assumption is I'll do something about plants, but sometimes I just want to swing outside the box a little bit and do something a little different. But I think like one thing I want to touch on is I have such an opposite opinion on speakers. Like I totally get the game of like I want to travel all over the country and talk to individual clubs, and for me, I'm like, that's neat, but just let your knowledge go wild, man. Just let it go out there. Like, because for me, I've had people that I've seen all sorts of information from them before. Gary Lang's a great example.
Yeah.
If I can go somewhere that's within a reasonable distance to see Gary talk live, even if I've seen the talk before, I will do it. Lawrence Kent, who's a member of my club, I will go watch Lawrence Kent talk anytime.
Yeah.
Because he's an entertaining storyteller. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like Dean, right? Master Reader Dean. He is just fun to listen to. So I will go to anything even if I know what he's talking about and I've seen it before, I'll go. And I wish it feels like most of the current speakers that are out there, their mentality is if someone see it, they won't watch it again. It's like, that's not true. They're not there for that one talk. They're there for you. The talk is a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to see you do something live is what they care about. That would be like a musician saying, well, I don't want them to have my album. I only want them to come to a concert. It's like, no. Pre-recorded music and live music are very different things. And it's the same with a talk, because a talk, you have a flow, you have a back and forth with the audience. You have ways to interact that make every time you talk at a different place, even if it's the same thing, everyone is unique. Everyone is special.
Especially if it's like they're going, they're doing it on some collecting trip or a certain region. There's different things that spring to mind just from their environment that day or what's going on in that talk, that you'll get other little chunks of information.
Or even at the end, there's questions that you don't think about in your talk, and when they come up,
and so that's part of it
bring
too.
something to mind of that experience that is now it's fresh, it's new, it's different, and it's unique to that one place at that one time, because that one person randomly in the crowd asked some question. And that's where I wish like there was more, there was less fear about putting their things online. It's like, for me, if I watch you talk ahead of time, then I tend to get questions, and now I want to go see you in person so I can just ask you. And hopefully I don't get the answer of, oh, just buy my book, which I'll totally like throw Karen Randall under the bus for that. Cause that's every time I've watched people ask her questions, it's like, oh, it's in my book, just buy my book. And it's like, that's the worst answer.
Yeah.
That's the worst answer.
Yeah.
Cause it sounds greedy. And I want to be really clear. I like Karen Randall. I think she's pretty awesome. I've been able to talk to her, and she knows so much. It's incredible. But
nice.
I can remember when she came right after the, her aquatic gardening book came out, which I own the book and I like it. It was like, oh, that's in my book. And it's like, just answer it. You just answer. You go like,
not quite
well, the short answer is this, but really there's a lot better details, and that would take a lot of time. But I explain it really well in my book.
Yeah.
And the difference is you've answered their question, but then told them like, hey, there's some nuance that's really important. If you get my book, you'll get that nuance, but I'll give you the short, easy answer. But if you really want to know it,
let me give you a synopsis. Let me give you a synopsis, and if you want to know more, go read my book. Here's where you can find out more. Here's a synopsis of what I said.
It's like, have you ever seen? You guys watched the movie Starship Troopers?
It's been a while, but I have.
To me, it's like the headline in Starship Troopers is the answer, and the would you like to know more that comes at the end of all their like faux propaganda stuff that's in that movie that's all done as a joke. That's the way that you go like, this is how you buy my book, is would you like to know more? Right? It's like that. That's how I feel it is. But I am but some humble aquarist somewhere in nowhere. I'm no Karen Randall, so I guess maybe I should default to the person that knows what they're actually doing and not just like some dumb in his house.
It's like, like a good drug dealer or something. Like the first one's free.
Yeah, first taste is free.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm gonna like peruse chat, make sure I didn't miss anything interesting.
Yeah. It looked like Ian or something earlier was asking. Somebody was talking about how much Seattle Aquarium Society is. I want to say it's like $25 or something, super reasonable.
I think our single yearly membership, I think, is $20 now. It was $15 for a really long time, but I think it's $20 now. Well, easy way for me to find out, right? I'm like a member with the website.
To the website. Yeah, I need to spend a little more time there, since I do pay that $15 or $20 or $25 or whatever it is.
No. Okay, so a family membership is $20. A single membership is $15. Juniors, if you're 18 or if you're under 18, is $9, and a senior, if you're 60 plus, is $10.
Hi, John.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Very expensive. I don't know how anyone could possibly afford it.
And for what you get out of it, it is extremely expensive. I don't know why anybody would, because
excessively valuable resources for years and years of talks at one of the oldest clubs in the United States. Yeah. They have stuff that goes back, I guess like 20 years now that you can watch online, because they have old stuff that was recorded on basically like VHS handheld camcorders that have been very carefully converted to digital by our video person, and there's like there's all sorts of other resources that go almost all the way back to the founding of the club back in the 70s that you can get a hold of too.
It's really impressive that everything that everyone's done there, you know, and I know a lot of work goes into all of that. And I guess it's a big club and you got a lot of techie people there, you know, so that those things help. You know?
Yeah, there's a big shout out to a gentleman named Eric Olson, who he was a long time around a ton of cichlid stuff. So if you went to a lot of cichlid conventions, you'd know who this guy was. You'd see him and just know him. But like he's our audio video guy and does a lot of the website stuff. And yeah, that guy has a well appreciated but somewhat thankless job at times with the amount of work that he does.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I absolutely agree. Yeah,
and that includes the many times that I've yelled at him for doing things the way he does them. We've butted heads about technology a few times.
Gotcha.
Why am I not surprised, Bentley?
Why
am I not surprised?
Because I don't like non-redundant things, and I don't like centralized things, and some of those things are centralized for our club, and that always terrifies me because I get paranoid about those kind of things.
Well, at least the military takes up most of your time these days.
Yeah, I have to step down from some of my club duties. So I normally run our club's monthly auctions at the end of our meetings, and I had to put in my resignation notice just because I know that I don't have the time for it anymore. And my club was like, "Can you at least cover us for like the next 2 meetings, maybe?" And I was like, "I will try." I don't know that I can.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is like, I won't get home until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning after some of our meetings. And I need to be up at 4:35 a.m.
Wait, it's a Sunday?
Oh,
no, they do theirs on Tuesday.
Ours are Tuesday nights. That's the rough part.
Oh, yours are Tuesday. Okay, that's even worse.
We're a weekday, and it was voted upon long ago, and that was the thing that was the majority winner, and hasn't changed since.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
except you do like the plant auction and stuff on weekends, and there's a couple of things I think that.
Yeah, we have our big auctions are on the weekend, but I don't run those. That's done by a different person. But although every meeting there's a small auction, and our small auctions are anywhere between 60 and 200 items, depending. Like 60 is small because of COVID, but most of them are typically 150 to 200 items after a club speaker is finished and all that kind of stuff. So that auction doesn't start until 9:30.
Yeah.
And then we've got to go through that many items with whoever's present. And very frequently, by the time it's all torn down, everybody's checked out, paid for, and I can finally leave. And then I have to drive home, which that late at night is still a half-hour drive to my house. I'm getting home anywhere between midnight and 1 a.m. And then typically I have stuff I need to put away and all sorts of other things. So
I went from the secretary to the treasurer, and like the treasurer is often a tough spot to fill because people know they have to be at the meetings until like the very, very end, like, whereas I used to just, once the auction was done, then hop in line real quick, pay for my stuff, and then jet out of there. So it's a little change there. Of course, you guys, when like went to your plant auction and stuff, you could like go check out at any point and everything, at least on that sort of thing. They probably not with the regular meetings.
Well, if you're just like a random person who's there, you can check out in the middle of the auction and leave if you want to. The treasurer is there just collecting the whole time. But for those of us who are like, I'm running the auction, so I have to wait until the auction completes, and then I have to get in line with everybody else to check out. And whoever our volunteers we give them a little bit of
pay
credit, effectively speaking, for whatever purchases they make.
You guys pay
handing those out and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
You guys pay after the auctions. They have runners and they make us pay like right during.
No, so we settle up a tab at the end. So whenever you check out, you pay your tab.
Oh,
yeah.
No, they they have runners and they have us pay right when, which is always fun.
Yeah. things are our system is designed in a certain way that is effective at certain things and not effective at others. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
True.
Put it that way.
It's a certain amount of risk you run for the convenience.
Yep. Yeah, it's good. It's really good for certain things, but checking out on the fly and then being able to then buy something else, our system's not built to handle that. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Atkins Nature Aquariums. California is weird. Yes, it is. Yes, California is weird. But if you like warm weather, it's not that bad. All right. What else you got for me?
Well, I was curious. What was your most difficult experience keeping aquariums?
I would say my most difficult experience keeping aquariums, as far as challenge is concerned, as opposed to like difficult because I screwed up and it hurt my soul. I think that would be the first time I was raising baby rainbow fish, because I got a bunch of eggs on accident, kind of, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I need to scramble and figure out what to do to raise them.
Yeah, fun.
And probably shortly behind that is when I arguably bit off far more than I could chew. So when my first time ever like meeting Gary Lang, he came to one of our club meetings, and I'd been waiting 9 months for this thing. I'd been carefully like rat holing away my money, what little spare money I had at the time. And yeah, I bought a lot more eggs than I probably should have. So I was raising, I was trying to hatch and raise 10 different species of rainbows all at the same time across a bunch of my tanks. And like I failed miserably on a couple of them, to be fair. Like I lost all of my maculosis.
But come on, it's Gary Lang. He doesn't come all that often.
Well, and you know what I will say is like there's a lot of stuff that killed me about it, but then I had other things like I have my Running River rainbows because of that, and I have this beautiful healthy colony. They're a fish that I appreciate more and more. I call them actively the crown jewel of my fish room, because really I think they are, and I think they're not as appreciated in the rainbow world as they should be, because they have this beautiful story. They're a gorgeous fish. But a lot of people keep them in like these simple tanks for breeding, because they're trying to breed this fish and make sure they don't go extinct. But if you put them in a planet tank, the males are incredible. You get golds, reds, black stripes, this big, beautiful yellow finnage with a lot of black. And they're just gorgeous fish. And they school very tightly because they're a more wild fish that up until a bunch of scientists saved them, they weren't in the hobby at all. Just people weren't keeping them as a hobbyist fish. They were in this random one location in Australia. But like they're the tightest schoolers of all the rainbows I have. They're gorgeous. They're incredible to watch.
Oh.
And you know, it's because of that I have them. And another thing that's because of that, like also because that night we're like, you know, Gary's just like sitting laughing on the side of the room as I've just perpetually have my number held up in the sky at our auction. And it's just, I didn't care what the number went to. If it was one of the fish on my list, I was taking it home that night. And it eventually got to a point of where people would just look at the back of the room and see if I had my hand raised, and they would not even fight me. So then all of a sudden, now I'm getting these fish for like what I consider way cheap. And at one point, our auctioneer was even like, I think we were on like the 6th or 7th one. He just looks at me and goes, "Okay, what's our starting price?" Just like, just set the price you're going to start at so that we know whether or not somebody wants to fight you for it.
Let's move this along and see.
Yeah, right. It was trying to get through it, and it's a kind of a hilarious memory for me. And yeah, I had some failures, and one of them like still kills me to this day because now it's almost impossible to find that fish in the United States. Me and another big rainbow nerd have been actually trying to track it down, and we've come to the assumption we're going to have to try and find a way to import it from Europe because we know it's kept in Germany.
Oh, geez. Maybe.
Yeah.
And now we have to find out
geez.
who in Germany keeps it and will let us import that fish.
Wow.
Because the only people we know in the United States who have it, we talked to one and he was like, oh yeah, I just recently lost mine. And the other one is like, yeah, I'm just not selling any of them. And that's like, what? Okay, do you realize the state we're in right now? We've checked every major, and we're kind of deep in the rainbow hobby. So we know a lot of the big names and we talk to them regularly, and we've been fishing around and all of them are like, I don't have them. I don't have them. I don't have them. Oh yeah, I used to have them, but I lost them. And it's like, do we really not have this fish in the United States anymore? Oh, uh-oh.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where like, me and this particular person, we've actually spoke a lot about it over this week. We've been chatting more just because he's known that I've had slightly more time to chat, and he's one of the few people that has the direct bat phone to me. And we were sitting talking to him, we were like going back and forth. It was like, oh, we should check this person, we should check that person, we should check this person, and we finally went down our list and we're like, uh-oh. Okay.
Nobody has it.
We know somebody, I think it's Germany's got it, right? Who do we know out in Germany that we can start asking questions? And it was like, well, I don't know that I don't want to try and directly bug Johannes Graf yet, but he'll be here in Kentucky at the Triple Crown event, so we'll just ask him in person. It's like, this is literally one of the conversations I had about rainbow fish recently. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going. I've already got tickets, all that kind of stuff. So I'll be out there. That's the one event I'm doing for 2022.
Awesome.
Outside of Fishtoberfest. Mm-hmm. I'll probably all do because
those are the two I'm planning.
I don't know that I want to go to Aquashella, honestly. At first I really thought I did, and now the more that I've seen Aquashella grow, the less I want to go to it. But that's probably like a talk for another time.
Yeah, and it's the same for me. That it's going to be those two, and so that's it.
So what do you got?
S was asking, what do rainbow fish flash harder for food or mating? I believe is S's question.
Yes.
So I would argue a majority of rainbow fish species go into courting after they eat. So it's kind of a combo. If they are used to getting fed at a certain time every day, or they smell food in the water, they'll just immediately start coloring up and getting ready to flash because they're going to eat and immediately go court the females. Now, certain species don't do that. Certain species always court the same rough time of day. An example would be a majority of Chilatharina, in my experience. This isn't a 100% rule, but in my experience, they're afternoon spawners. About 3 p.m. my time, it's go time. That's without fail, especially in the summer and spring, that's go time for them. Even if I fed them in the morning or I feed them at night, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Melanitanias, morning, all the time. Yeah. My Blaheri, all day long. They're psychos. So, Gara calls them the party animal, and now I know why, right? They're all those boys all throughout the day are on and off and on and off. They're just raging. But I've noticed that if you feed really high quality food, so like frozen Daphnia, frozen Cyclops, live baby brine shrimp, especially, they're gonna light up when they get used to it. Because if they know that scent compared to like your flake foods and stuff like that, they know it's really high quality, and also it's a very small food. So it triggers that subconscious instinct thing of like, oh, there's lots of this prevalent small food in the water. Babies can survive. Let's go make babies. Right?
So
that's that
feed
nature
more
engine that turns on.
So then you feed more Daphnia than brine shrimp?
Well, I would prefer
when raising.
I would prefer to feed live baby brine constantly if I could, and live Daphnia, but I can't culture that stuff regularly enough right now because of my work. and just a matter of I don't get the time to take. And it sounds psychotic that I don't have the 10 minutes it takes to set up brine shrimp and the 15 minutes it takes to harvest and feed brine shrimp, but I don't. Like my day is just so insane that if I were to do that much, I'm literally sacrificing half an hour of what little time I get with my dogs and my lady, and I don't get a lot, you know. So it's a little rough. But like when in an optimal world, I would feed only live and frozen, and I would never feed prepared foods unless I was going on vacation and needed something like an auto feeder to do that work for me. But rainbow fish also don't care because they're just kind of pigs and they'll eat almost anything that you give them. But they really do appreciate that live and frozen food. and you can tell the difference because of their behavior and how much more they really show those courting, spawning, flashing colors when you feed that. So like Christmas Day, for example, I fed frozen cyclops to all of my tanks. And like, it was just, there's this cloud of little particles in the water because I overfed them. So I was spoiling them. And you just watch the rainbows going all over the place, nibbling it all up. And they're all like full color. It would probably have been, I should have been filming while I was doing it, but I was just like, no, I'm just going to appreciate this for me. Bonk, 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 bonk.
Yep.
And it was great. You know, it was fantastic to sit there and watch some of my rainbows like lose their minds over that stuff.
You see Ian's question there?
Can you mix Blaharii with Melanitania?
So Ian was asking,
do they make hybrids? Can. So typically what happens when you mix like Chalatherina and Melanitania, or Chalatherina and Glossolepis, or Glossolepis and Melanitania, is for the most part, the male and female will court the same genus of fish. So the Chalatherinas will stay together and court each other. They won't court the Melanitanias, although they can. I have, for an example, I have Blaharii in with Frederici right now. So there's a Melanitania and a Chalatherina, and my Blaharii males will court the Frederici females because they're dumb and they don't discriminate. They love everybody.
They love everybody. I like the way you put that.
But for the most part, you will tend to see, if you have a reasonable number of females and males of both, they will court inside their own species. But the problem is they'll all kind of try to use the same area to put their eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And unfertilized eggs from one
spot
will get milked from the other and unintentionally hybridize. So if your goal is to breed single species, never mix. It's just it's too much risk. Now, if they just random spawning, the likelihood of any baby surviving is so low that I wouldn't really stress about it.
Right. Yeah, you can still keep them together if you'd like to. Yeah. Yeah. I keep Praecox and Glossolepis Dortii together.
Ooh.
And with those clown loaches, actually.
Dortii is like one of those, I feel like, underappreciated fish.
I was going to ask you about that because I really love those fish, man. They're really cool.
The way that their color pattern comes out and like why they call them the zigzag rainbow is so accurate, and they're so beautiful.
Yep. Of course, the females not so much.
You know what? Like, I think it's all about, when it comes to females and Glossolepis especially, it's appreciating the fact that they're so different that you can't miss them.
Yeah.
Because you got that like brassy gold color in almost all the Glossolepis females, except for Wanamensis. Wanamensis females are like this greenish silver tinge, and it's kind of neat. And then there's some other stuff. You know, you got some other glossos that are a little closer to the males, but they're so easy to tell male to female. A lot of people are like, oh, that one's not as colorful. It's like, no, they're just a different color. You actually get metallic colors out of a fish that doesn't show any metallic colors with the females sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can get Wanamensis, they look green. They don't look metallic, but the females have this like silvery green metallic color. And that's actually super cool. And you get this like brass gold color in a lot of the red Glossolapises. And it's a very pretty color, especially when the females get full adult size. They're gorgeous fish. It's just if you're looking for like, I want that bright red rainbow. Why do I have this gold rainbow? It's like, well, all all right, okay, I can see why you're complaining, but at the same time, you have a gold rainbow.
Yeah, you're right. They are cool looking.
Rainbow.
It's
It's
just
pretty
it's a
cool
lot
looking,
to
man.
compete with that zigzag pattern of reds and stuff.
Yeah, you're fighting, especially when you get to fight like wild patterns like that. Yeah, that's when it's tough. Because like even female running rivers have some pattern interest to them, but they don't show like all the crazy color that the males do. And you see the males, and you're just like, okay, now I understand why Bentley rants and raves about this fish.
Yeah.
You see the female, and you're like, hey, yeah, I guess. I guess. But if you don't have those females, those males don't look that cool.
Yeah.
You need those females to get the males to go full out. I'm going to show everything in it, all I got. You know?
Otherwise, what's the point? You don't even shower in the morning. You don't do your hair.
Yeah, no, you just
brushing your teeth, you know?
You're just schlepping it around in your boxers.
Yeah.
You just make sure you wear a shirt for that meeting that you got on Skype, and walk away. You know?
Yeah, go pick that up off the bathroom floor.
All you need is a shirt. You don't need the bottom. All you need is a shirt there. Zoom meeting. Come on. It's not that hard. You only have to do half the work.
Well, I know. Happy you're at company's house tonight, or your friend's house tonight, and not at home, Kevin. We might be wondering.
Well, I know it's been an hour and a half. Thank you both for coming. I don't want to take up too much of your time, Bentley, but this was really fun.
Yeah, man. No,
Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I had some connection issues. Hopefully, if we do this again in the future, we're a little better.
I apologize for that. That was
don't worry
pain, about it. But thank you both for doing this with me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for you guys' time. Thank you, everybody in chat,
Ryan
and
cover some stuff.
all the lurkers. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
In the hot seat. Thank you both.
Yeah, when I was doing my stream and stuff, Bentley was one of the people that I was thinking about asking to have on. So it was nice to be able to spend this time with you, sir.
Yeah, I did it by proxy. At some point, I'm sure I'll be down in Portland here not too long from now. I'll get to see you again in person. We talked a little bit at Fishtoberfest. That was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Absolutely.
Sam, I got to meet Kevin.
In person is even better.
Yeah, that's the good times. That's how you get Bentley unfiltered.
Thank you both.
Be very afraid.
I like it.
Make sure you get that. Make sure you have that film too. Make sure you have that camera, Ryan.
Oh God!
Thank you both for coming. I appreciate it, and thank you everybody else.
Yeah,
have a great night, everyone.
You have a great night.
Thank you both.
Later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you both